It's Mo. It is time for another 2022 book haul revisit. So this is a new series that I'm doing on my channel for 2024 where I look back at all the book hauls that I made in 2022 and see if I've read the books, see if I've unhauled the books, see if those books went on my shelves as collections or back in my basement box books. You can check out the first video that I did of this series listed down below where I looked at my birthday books from February of 2022. So in this video, it's called Recently Acquired Books and Little Free Library Tour, January 2022, but I posted it in March of 2022. So I guess I went back and did the haul from January. So it's a little mixed up, it's a little confused, but just keep watching, you'll get the idea. I mentioned in the last video that I'm just skipping the Little Free Library Tour. I'm skipping ahead to the actual book haul in these videos. Also, as I go, I'm seeing what books that I read in each haul, but I'm also making like a priority TBR that maybe I'll use as my end of year TBR, or maybe these will be books that I just try to get to throughout the year as more of like a priority, because it's been 2 years since I picked them up. All right, so let's skip ahead to the intro and see what I have to say about this. Interesting. So I'm talking here about my RAB spreadsheet and how my RAB spreadsheet works. My RAB spreadsheet is my recently acquired book spreadsheet, and I log every book that comes into the house. And that's why I started doing these hauls, because I had started my RAB spreadsheet. And I talk a little bit about how there are a couple of books in this haul that were not from 2022, that were before 2022. So I don't know if they end up on my RAB spreadsheet, which is interesting. The first book on this list is Unread. It is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. That is a classic sci-fi. I don't really know what it's about, except that I know it's like dense and political. I have read only Ursula K. Le Guin's Cat Wings books, which are like young adult books, or even I would say like middle grade books. And I do really love those books. Am I in focus? Who can tell? I know that people love Ursula K. Le Guin as an author. She's definitely one that I want to try. This is not a priority read for me, so it might still be on my TBR, but it might be on my red shelf. The next book is also unread. It is The Club by Takis Verger. This is a German translated book, I believe, and I think it's still on my TBR. I have to check into that too. This one I should really do a try a chapter with, because I've kept it, but I still don't really know what it's about. The next book is also unread, but it is a collection, and that is The Catcher in the Spy. This is a nonfiction book about a baseballer who was also a spy, but it's in my baseball collection, so it's not actively on my TBR. Murder at the Brightwell I have read. I think I did read it in 2022. I didn't really like it. It was okay. It was like a 1920s historical fiction mystery, but it was written by an American set in England, and I think it fell a little flat. Next we have The Lady and the Panda. It is unread. It is by Vicky Constantine Croak. This is a nonfiction, and I believe it is still on my TBR. Lakewood by Megan Giddings is another book that I have read. It's on my red shelf because I really enjoyed that kind of body horror speculative fiction. We have another collection book that is an Agatha Christie book, so I am working my way through all of the Agatha Christies. I'm currently reading Miss Marple. I'm reading them in order, so any books that I pick up, especially vintage Christies, I'm keeping. They're on my red shelf as a collection, but they're not on my active TBR until I get to the one that I want to read, or the next in order of what I need to read. It was at Bertram Hotel. It has a great cover, but I'm not there yet in my Miss Marple read through. The next book is Underfoot in Show Business by Helen H. I have been trying to read a Helen H, basically one a year. I have been collecting her books. I love her work. That one was read. The next book I found in a Little Free Library, that was Curationism, which is like almost a textbook about like curating art, yes, but curating life as well. And I have been wanting to read that. It's still on my TBR. I think that one would be a priority read if I were to make a priority TBR. The next book is Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. I have not read this classic sci-fi. I've read 2 Octavia Butlers, but this one I heard is very prophetic about like our current times and about about the pandemic and things like that. And I feel like her books are quite heavy, so it's hard for me to get to. Another read book is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. I did read this young adult novel in verse and I did love it, and I passed it along to one of my best friends and he loved it, so that was a win all around. I did unhaul this book. It's not on my read shelf because it's not necessarily one that I could see myself rereading, and it was also an arc. So although I did love this book, although I did read it, although I did love it, it is not on my shelves anymore. Another nonfiction that I have not read is Beatrix Potter, The Gardening Life. I still have this one on my TBR. I think this book is divided into seasons, so it's one that every year I'm like, oh, I should read it in the season that it starts. Like I should read it in springtime for getting ready for the garden, and I never do. I think we could put this one on a priority list as well. The next book is Bill Bryson's I'm a Stranger Here Myself. Now I've had a recent back and forth with Bill Bryson's work. I've read a couple of his works prior to BookTube, which I really liked. I've read a couple of books since joining BookTube that I haven't really liked. So I actually recently put this one down in my basement box books. It is unread. I do one day want to get to it, but I don't see it on my immediate TBR. Like Bill Bryson and I need a little break. Here I talk a little bit about how I kind of discovered romance in 2021. So a lot of these hauls are going to have some romance in them. This is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, and this one I have unhauled. I don't know if I did try a chapter with this one or I just read a few pages and I just couldn't see myself getting into it. I don't think Christina Lauren is the romance author for me. So that is our first unhaul of this haul revisit. The next book I have read, and that is Kill File by Christopher Farnsworth. I read this in 2023 for Sci-Fi September. I did enjoy it, but I did unhaul it. Next, we have another book that I have read. We're turning it around, and that is Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey. This is a post-apocalyptic future Western style book that I really enjoyed, and it is on my read shelf. Well, it's sad that I call the last book one of my most exciting finds because I have not read this book. It is The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. This is like auto fiction. I don't think it's fiction. I think this is memoir, but done in a experimental vignette-y style. I still have never read any Maggie Nelson, but I'm super interested in a lot of her books. So it's disappointing that I haven't gotten this one. I would say that this would be on the priority list if I'm making one. So that was the last book of this book haul, and out of that I have unhauled without reading one book. I have put one book down in the basement. I had two books that were part of collections that are unread that go on my collection shelf. I had 7 books that were unread and 6 books that I read. So 5, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So out of 17 books for this particular haul, I only read 6 of them, but I unhauled one. So let's say 7 are now off of my TBR. Well, technically 10 are off my TBR, either read, unhauled, basement, or collection, and I still have 7 on my TBR. So that's quite a lot. That was the second 2022 haul revisit video. Let me know what you think of this video series. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned here. Let me know if any of the unread books you think I should prioritize or put on a priority list. And we will be back next month to revisit, if this was January's, we did February's already. We will be back to revisit the haul that I did in March of 2022. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.